that time of year again. First part of July, we always like to try to get our trail cameras out. So I'm out here on the farm today hanging a few. Got 2 left to hang, and then it's off to Iowa. Got to pick up Chuck and Howard, and we're gonna go hang out with Lee and Tiffany Lakosky for the next 2 days. And just kind of give a rundown on what they do as far as management goes. You know, you don't kill that many big deer and not have some type of management program. So we're gonna try to highlight a few things that they're doing that you can also do on your place to kill some giant whitetails.
Well, welcome to the house, and right here is my favorite deer of all time. I've got a lot of good deer that, you know, I mean, every one of them's special, but this one is one I call Gnarles Barkley. He's like one of my favorite deer just because he's so goofy looking. You know, he's got about 9 inches at the base right there, and big mass everywhere, and a lot of it just because it's a cool story. We bought this farm, we had no idea what was on it, and in January, we bought it, you know, in January, and the first day I went out just to kind of look around in the woods a little bit, I found this set of sheds right here. The very first shed that we find, a match. Look at that thing. Unbelievable mass. We never saw him all summer, never had a picture of him, anything, but when we bought that farm, there were lots of cedars in there, lots of good bedding. So we knew there'd be deer in there, but there was no food. All the fields were just hay fields. So we got 100% chance of rain in 2 days, so I got today and tomorrow to get as much work done as I can and try to get some of these fields planted. This is one of our important farms right here. The answer to it all is food. You know, people, you talk about, you know, food plots. I got a food plot, or some maybe have a little food plot to kill, you know, a deer in, but you really need a lot of food. And, you know, even in the Midwest, people are, you know, say, well, I don't need to plant a lot of food. I mean, and there's thousands and thousands of acres of corn and beans all around me. And I said, yeah, I know it, but they're gone in October when hunting starts. You know, you need to have it through the hunting season. You know, I always look at it as like, you take fishermen, they got it figured out. Everything is about, okay, what do we use? Okay, for bass, okay, we need this color on this color days, we need this color and this, you know, this size for this kind of pressures and everything else. It's all about what they eat. But really, hunting is exactly the same. It's all about what are they going to eat at what time of year and what kind of weather conditions and everything else. It's not a lot different than fishing. You hunt ducks on water or in rice fields or wherever they're eating at. I mean, outside of rut, that's what an animal's life is about, is food. Never saw him or anything the next year, and just kind of figured that was a fluke. He was something that was just going through or died or whatever. And I go shed hunting the next year, and I find right in the same exact spot almost this horn. So I was like, oh my gosh, he's alive still, you know, but even though he was never there, that he came back. And then, so I'd looked for probably took me 2 weeks to find the other side. I finally found it, but he had dropped it like in a bush, and all I could see was his top sticking out. I mean, it was 60, 70 yards away, and I looked and I just saw something look like an egg sitting in this bush, and I went over there and looked, and bang, he had dropped it right in like that. But it wasn't 150 yards from this side, and all of these sheds are found basically in the same spot. So it's like, I know where he's bedding, so I just went in, took our dozer, and dozed in a food plot right in the cedars, and where he was bedding, there's a big patch of cedars, and then it went into hardwoods, and he was always bedding right on the edge of it. That's right where I found his shed, so at least I knew that he was spending time right on the edge of that cedar thicket, like in the hardwoods up on this hill. So I went in there and I dozed out about a 2-acre food plot in those cedars, not 100 yards from where I was finding these sheds. So I figured if he's still bedding there in that same spot, at least you'd find this little secluded clover field, and maybe you just start feeding there instead of going out to the beans with all the rest of them. Okay, this is the field that we dozed in for gnarls. I mean, we specifically dozed this in just for that one deer. You know, there's just some things you do for deer. You know, you try to figure them out, and the previous 2 years, you'd find the sheds, never saw him, and so you knew he was there, but there was really no food in here. So we got it pushed in and planted, and we had good rain that year, and just a beautiful clover field. And had no idea, I didn't put any cameras in there or anything. I just had a ground blind in those cedars, and I had a nice way I could get in from behind it. So, you know, if you had any kind of a west wind, you were good. You could get in and out with, I mean, turkeys in the field.
Smoked Gnarles Barkley.
He's one of my favorite deer just because of all the character, all the stickers, and just the mass on there, and just, you know, such a goofy look. I mean, he always had that end of his beam, you know, tipped up like that, you know, on that side. I mean, this was 2 years before, just the end tipped up with those two, and then even the three kind of had that same tipped up thing on there. And then the next year, same kind of thing, 3 little points up there, kind of tipped up there. And then this year, you can see, I mean, the end of his beam up, and then, you know, the 3 up. He had changed slightly, but it was just kind of neat how that was always, has that 90-degree bend up in there. So he's definitely one of my favorite deer just because he's the coolest one, and it was just a good plan, you know, that I never saw him for the first 2 years, just found his sheds, never even laid eyes on him. And then, you know, you go and doze in a food plot and everything just for this one particular deer, and it worked. That doesn't happen very often. So that's the key for me, is just, that's why we've been successful. I mean, you know, there hasn't been a year that's gone by probably in the last 15 years that I haven't shot a buck, at least in the 170s. And that's a dang feat. You know, and we didn't grow up that way. I grew up hunting in northern Minnesota where we never even saw a deer. I didn't shoot my first deer till I was 16, and I started hunting at 9. I mean, and over those years, I bet you I didn't see a dozen deer. So it wasn't like I grew up that way. It was just, hey, found a place and fell into a niche and got super lucky, you know, and just did a lot of work with the food plots and everything. I've just been obsessed with food and food plots and deer my whole life. But you know, if you want that kind of success, you've got to have the food, and more than you think. Most people aren't even thinking deer until August, but the most important time is right after your hunting season, January or February, because that's the one time of the year that you can recruit all your neighbors' deer. If you have plenty of food for them, you're going to stock so many deer in for 10 miles around, and then, like I said, shed season, you find so many more sheds. But if you have everything they want, you got cover and food and water, like we showed all this stuff, and does. We relocate so many of them. You'll find sheds for the first time, a deer you never saw, and then next summer they're just staples in your food plot and they live there. So that's your one time to recruit deer from all around you, that you have that one chance, and that's right after the hunting season. So don't be thinking about snowmobiling and ice fishing and everything else. You gotta be thinking about deer right after the deer season. I know a lot of people are burned out from it, but that's the time that you're gonna recruit new deer.
Take what you need and pass it on down. Give a little back to this sacred ground. You're on sacred